Hello, students and viewers. Today I'm going to talk about your chapter number 12, that is Watson and Crick model of DNA. So, basic idea about the DNA, what is the structure, what is the characteristics. So, this basic structure you have studied earlier in 12th. Now, fifth advanced points which is added over here in this FYBSC. So, let's begin with it. So, now see here why the name given Watson and Crick to the DNA, right? So see here the James Watson, who was American biologist, and Francis Crick, who was British physicist. So let me take pen. So James Watson, who was biologist, okay, American biologist, and the Crick was British physicist. Means the one scientist from the biology field and the another scientist from physics field. So both of them they made available the data, physical and chemical data, which is based on their research, and then they introduced the double helix model of DNA, right? Who? Watson and Crick. Watson was American biologist and Crick was British physicist. So here see, not only these Watson and Crick, they made available or they introduced this double helix model, but some few worker who worked on it. So their research also helped to Watson and Crick to develop or to introduce this double helix model. So who were the earlier scientists who has again some research in this DNA. So see here our point number 2, that is Rosalind Franklin and Maurice Wilkins. So they also help in the discovery of this double helix structure of DNA, right? So this model for DNA structure was widely accepted and is known as Watson and Crick's model of DNA. So we are always saying Watson and Crick, Watson and Crick. So what is the main reason behind calling the name for this model as Watson and Crick? Because the scientist who had discovered this model, so by the name of this scientist, the model of this DNA is named as Watson and Crick model of DNA. Now, here see, now exactly where this DNA is situated, right? So here you can see here is the double helical structure of this DNA, right? So this DNA we are seeing, or we are used to draw this diagrammatic representation of this DNA. Now where exactly this DNA is present? Now see here I have given this particular cell, right? So this is a particular cell, and you are observing this inner part. See here, this is the inner part, inner structure. So this inner structure is nothing but what? This is nucleus, right? This is what? This is nucleus. And inside to this nucleus you are observing these all these chromosomes, right? So these chromosomes are again made from one fiber like structures. So chromosome made up of what? A fiber like, thin thread like structure. Those fiber they are called as what? Chromatin, right? So chromatin condensed to form this structure called as what? Chromosome. Okay, please do remember this is again thread like structure which is condensed more to form these structures. So this structure is nothing but what? This is a particular structure. We called it as what? This a particular structure which is made from this thin thread like structure. So thin threads nothing but chromatin. So chromatin is condensed to form a thick structure called as what? Chromosome, right? So here again you can see, suppose you uh, this single part of this chromosome is nothing but what? These are the chromatids, right? So how many chromatids are present? Chromatids are nothing but what? It is the one part of chromosome, right? Chromatid. Hmm. So here you can see this is the short arm or short chromatid, and this is the long chromatid. I will write here only LC, right? Short chromatid, which is short, and here this is long chromatid. So likewise there are the two pairs of these chromatids, right? Two pairs, the upper one they are short in length and the lower one they are long in length, right? So suppose you want to see the inner structure. So inner structure is nothing but what? As I said, these are all a thread like chromatin which is condensed inside to form the structure. We called it as what? This is the single part of or single chromatid, right? This is the structure, right? So this chromatin itself condensed into this structure. So here it is shown over here. Let me take again pointer. So here you can see these, all these are what? A thread like structure, right? All this is what? A thread like structure, chromatin structure. And suppose you open this, you will see all these condensed part. So just imagine how they are packed into a that particular structure, right? Suppose you have one ball, you can imagine a cricket ball, right? Just open a small point, make a small circle on that ball, and just insert a ribbon in it, right? Just insert ribbon in it till the ball get full, right? And just now then after it just close that ball. So after fifth uh, after an hour or after fifth time, okay, after some time you can just remove the lid of that ball again and just try to remove the ribbon out of that ball, right? So same structure you are observing here, you are removing or you are opening that this thread like structure, and then finally you are observing this DNA, particular DNA like structure. So likewise DNA which is compactly packed into the chromosomes, right? So likewise the DNA where it is situated, DNA situated in chromosome, and chromosome they are present within this nucleus, right? Now next come to the characteristics of DNA, right? So here see what are the characteristics of DNA. So let me take pen again. So it is two stranded molecule. So how many stranded? Two. So this is number one strand, and this one is second strand, right? So here two stranded molecule. These are the first strand, right? And this is the second strand, right? So it is made up of two helical chains or strand that are spirally coiled around common axis to form right-handed double helix like a twisted ladder. So let me take again pointer. Okay, now see here, this is a twisted structure and this is helical structure, helical like structure, right? And this you can imagine, just look at the pointer. This is the central common axis, this is the central common axis where this DNA, double stranded DNA is spirally coiled around this central axis, right? So this is the two-stranded molecule. Just imagine, just this, understand this first characteristic of DNA. It is two-stranded, and around the common axis or common central axis, these two of the strands, they are helically present on it. Now, see here, each strand has 5 prime end. Let me take pen again. Now, see here, are you observing this end? So, this is a 5 prime end with a phosphate group, right? And here you can see, just I will write here, it has the phosphate group, and 3 prime end which has the hydroxyl group. So, hydroxyl group, OH group, right? So, here see, this is, I will give this name just for our understanding. This is the first strand, this is a second strand, right? Now you can just see here, this is the first strand which has 5 written as like this, 5 prime, right? Now this, you can see this one is going to end right here. So it starts from 5 prime and ends in a 3 prime, right? And the another opposite strand will starts from 3 prime and ends, just let me take another colored, I will take black color, yes, you will get it. So here it's a 3 prime opposite strand which runs, see here, look at my pen, which will end over here, right? And this end is 5 prime. Okay, means both the ends, just I will draw very shortly here. This is, if it is 5 prime, its end part would be a 3 prime, okay, which runs from this direction, right? And the opposite end will again starts from 5 prime and which runs in a opposite direction, right? And the end is 3 prime. So both the strands, they are anti-parallel. You can see here, just see here, both the strands, they are anti-parallel to each other, right? So one strand will run from 5 prime to 3 prime, and another strand will run from, okay, opposite strand will run from again 3 prime to 5 prime. So this basically, it is called as what? Sense strand. Sense strand, right? Which runs from 5 prime to 3 prime, right? So here you can see sense strand, which is run from 5 prime to 3 prime direction, whereas the opposite one, which is known as anti-sense strand, which runs from which direction? 3 to 5 prime. This is anti-sense. I will write only AS. Got it? So here is the prime and how it runs. Getting? Next, the diameter of the DNA is uniform and around, it's a 2 nanometer. So diameter is what? Diameter of these two, they are, this is diameter. So this diameter, it is of 2 nanometer. Now, the distance between each turn or the length of each spiral turn is 3.6 nanometer. Earlier it is used to say 3.4 nanometer. Means one turn, one helical structure 1 turn of this DNA, it is near about what? It is near about, it's earlier it is 3.4 nanometer, but now by the research it is saying that it is 3.6 nanometer. This is the 1 turn of the DNA. Now, the distance between base pair or two successive rings is 0.34 nanometer. So, suppose this is the DNA, this is the one base pair. For example, take this adenine is going to pair with thymine, and the another part is cytosine which going to pair with guanine, right? So, let me change the color. So this distance, the distance between two base pair. So two base pair distance is this. How much? 0.34 nanometer. Ready? Now the next part is there are 10.5 nucleotides per turn in one complete spiral turn. So here what we are saying here, 3.4 nanometer of one turn. So in a 3.4 nanometer of length, how many base pairs are present? 10.5. So again see, according to 3.4 there were 10, and according to 3.6 there are now 10.5 nucleotide base pairs, right? Next, the spiral arrangement of chain create major and minor grooves between the two chains or strand. Major groove is large, obviously, and the minor groove is small. The major grooves occurs where backbones are apart. So now here you can see, right? So this is, let me change the color again. So here you can see here this part, particularly this. So this is the major groove. Major groove where two strands they are moving apart from each other, right? So this portion is called as what? Major groove, whereas this part where they are coming nearer to each other. Here also you can see. So this portion is called as what? This is the minor groove, where the two strands in a minor groove they are coming close to each other, right? Minor groove they are coming to close, major grooves they are moving apart from each other. Now the next characteristics here, alternating deoxyribose sugar and phosphate groups are located on the outside of the double helix, so it makes the backbone of the helix. So always do remember here, whatever we are saying, the double strands, right? So this strand is made up of what? Phosphate group plus sugar, right? So it makes what? It makes the backbone of the helix. So backbone is made up of what? Phosphate group and sugar. Now next see, each DNA strand consists of long sequence of 4 bases including adenine, cytosine, guanine or guanosine and thymine, right? So all these 4 nucleotide bases are present. The bases on one strand are bonded or paired with the complementary bases on the opposite strand, right? So here suppose this is the A adenine, it going to always pair with the thymine. So this thymine is the complementary base pair, right? And this adenine, okay, in detail I will explain this, what are, how the nitrogenous bases they are pairing with each other with how many bonds, right? So in my coming slide I will explain this, but just do remember the bases on one strand are paired with the complementary bases on opposite strand. So now see here. So all these are what? Nucleotide. See here, nucleotide means nothing but what? When this is the sugar, this is phosphate group, and this is the nucleotide, right? Nitrogenous bases. So phosphate group plus sugar plus nitrogenous bases, altogether we are saying it as what? Nucleotide. So here see, always this portion here, you can, it's clear now. This adenine is pairing with thymine. So adenine is the purine base, as well as guanine is the purine base, whereas thymine, cytosine and uracil, one more is there, uracil, but uracil is absent in DNA, please remember. So cytosine, then thymine and uracil, these are pyrimidine bases, right? And only adenine and guanine, these are adenine and guanine. So these are purine bases. These are what? Purine bases, right? So here adenine of purine is pairing with thymine of pyrimidine with only two hydrogen bond. Here you can clear cut see here in this image, right? So and guanine of purine is pairing with cytosine of pyrimidine with how many here it is? 3. 3 hydrogen bond. So you can see here in this also. Here it is 2 hydrogen bonds. Here is also 2. Here 3. 3 hydrogen bonds you are observing. And here is also 3 hydrogen bonds, right? So always adenine thymine with 2 hydrogen and guanine cytosine with 3 hydrogen bonds. So likewise this is the backbone, which is made up of what? Phosphate and sugar. Here is also same, in this strand or backbone, phosphate plus sugar is there, and in the middle these are the nitrogenous bases. I will write here only NB. NB, nitrogenous bases, right? So nitrogenous bases are of 4 types. So here you can see adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine, right? So among these adenine and guanine, these two, they are purine bases, whereas thymine, right? I will make it star, and cytosine, these are pyrimidine bases, right? And this is the straight ladder like structure you are observing, and this is the double helix, how these two strands along with the nitrogenous bases they are present, it is shown over here. Now next see the pyrimidine, that are thymine and cytosine. Okay, just now I have explained this. And the purine bases are adenine and guanine. The bases are located inside the double helix. So purine bases is bonded or make pair with specific pyrimidine bases. So as I explained you, A always going to pair with T with only 2 hydrogen bonds. Okay, please do remember this. And cytosine always going to pair with guanine with 3 hydrogen bonds, right? See next characteristic, the double helix structure is stabilized by hydrogen bonds that are formed between purine and pyrimidine bases. So hydrogen bonds, why it is there? Because to stabilize this DNA double helix structure. So these are the few characteristics of these DNA. See, these base pairs are known as complementary base pairs and forms this step of the DNA ladder. So the two DNA strands are complementary to each other. So number of A bases equal to the number of T bases, right? So how many numbers are there? They are equal, right, to T bases. So suppose there would be a 2A, then there would be a 2T only, right? So equal number of purine bases and equal number of pyrimidine bases would be there, and this base pairing again based or suggested by the rule of Chargaff's rule. Means Chargaff rules what it is says. So total number of purine is equal to total number of pyrimidine. So if it will be 2 adenine, there should be a 2 thymine, right? If there would be a 4 cytosine, there must be a 4 guanine, right? So likewise, this Chargaff rule is there. So next characteristic here, side of the helix or strand are made up of alternating sugar and phosphate molecule of nucleotide that are linked by 3' dash 5' phosphodiester bond, right? So phosphodiester bond is nothing but what? This is the phosphate group which is linked to sugar, right? So phosphodiester bond is always present between this phosphate and sugar, right? And whereas the steps of the ladder are made up of nitrogen bases that are connected to sugar by glycosidic bond. Now this sugar is connected to whom? Connected to this. Take example A and T. This is the nitrogen base, right? Nitrogenous base this is. So sugar is connected to this with which bond? Let me change the color. Which bond here? It is connected by glycosidic bond. So this is exactly glycosidic bond, right? This is glycosidic bond and this is phosphodiester bond. Please do remember, phosphodiester bond is present between phosphate and sugar, right? Whereas the glycosidic bond is present between sugar to nitrogenous bases, right? Now, now this is structure we have seen. Now see the characteristics of DNA. So the amount of DNA per nucleus is constant in all the somatic cells of given species. So take example of onion where the chromosome number, how many chromosomes are there? 16, right? 16 chromosome number are there. So every cell of this onion, it must has this 16 number of chromosome in it. There should not be a 15 in one cell and 17 in another cell, right? So the DNA per nucleus of per cell is constant. That there must be a constant number of chromosome number should be there in a particular somatic cells. Then total amount of DNA in haploid genome is the characteristic of each organism and is known as C value. So C value is nothing but what? Constant. Please do remember. C stands for what? Constant. Or you can say it is the characteristic value. So C value is nothing but what? It is the half the amount in a diploid somatic cells of eukaryotic organism. Half the amount of DNA in a diploid somatic cells of eukaryotic cells. Or you can say this is the constant value. C value is constant or characteristic value of haploid DNA content per nucleus, right? So therefore, this half the amount of diploid somatic cells in case of eukaryotic organism, or you can say the haploid DNA content per nucleus is present, which is called as what? C value, right? Now, next characteristic is see, only a small fraction of DNA is functional in a eukaryotes. Now see whatever we have seen here, very long thread like structure, right? So it is very long thread like structure which is present or which is forced to be present within the nucleus, right? But even though such a lengthy DNA is present in a cell within a nucleus, but only a small fraction of DNA is functional. Here see, only small these things they are present, right? So here you can see, let me take pen. So we are observing very condensed part of this chromatin, and in other hand we are observing such a loosely arranged chromatin, right? So this condensed part, it is called as what? Heterochromatin. This is what? Heterochromatin. So this heterochromatin which is condensed, okay, it is mostly condensed and this is not active, or this is non-active for which process? Transcription process, means not takes part in the transcription. Transcription is nothing but what? Conversion of DNA into RNA, right? So here as it is very much condensed, it is non-active. It is not taking part in transcription process, right? Whereas on other hand, let me change the color of my pen. Here you can see this is very loosely arranged chromatin, right? So this is called as euchromatin, right? Heterochromatin and euchromatin, right? So this chromatin is active and it takes part in which process? Transcription process, and hence it is called as what? Only a small fraction. So which chromatin or which DNA would take part? So this particularly, this euchromatin, right? So euchromatin takes part in the transcription process, right? Now see the next characteristic. DNA, the chemical basis of heredity, and is organized into genes and cystone. So what we are saying is cell is structural and functional unit of life, right? So our body or plant body is made up of what? Cells, right? So cell we called it as what? Structural and functional unit, right, of life. So likewise here for DNA what we are saying, the structural unit or the chemical basis of heredity is genes or cistrons. Okay, so genes are nothing but what? It is the nucleotide sequence which is responsible for synthesis of RNA, right? Cistron and genes are similar. They are nucleotide sequences. But genes and cistron, how they are differentiated from one another? Gene is responsible for synthesis of RNA, whereas cistron, please listen me carefully. Cistron is also a nucleotide sequence which is responsible for synthesis of polypeptide sequence of functional protein. Okay, so I will write here only P for protein and genes. They are for responsible for RNA, right? Next, DNA replicates to form DNA. Okay, replica means what? Making its own copy, right? And transcribe to form RNA, obviously, right? So, if DNA replicates, that means that it's going to form its own copy. So, that is nothing but DNAs. And this, when it is transcribed, so during transcription, DNA converts into RNA. So, therefore, DNA is going to form into a RNAs. Now, next characteristic, see. DNA replication occurs in S phase. So S phase is nothing but what? Synthesis phase of a cell cycle. So in a lecture of cell cycle, I have explained you detail about this S phase of cell cycle, right? So in a S phase, this synthesis as well as the replication of DNA it occurs, right? So next, see next characteristic, DNA replication is semi-conservative. So why it is called as semi-conservative? Because see, This is the old strand. I will write here only OS, space is limited, OS old strand, right? And from here, let me change the color of my pen. Here you are going to have, this is the newly synthesized part. Okay, so this is a new strand. I will write here only NS. So old strand, which is the part of parent strand, right? And this is the new strand which is synthesized from old strand. And hence, what semi means half, conservative conservation. Okay, means half the part is conserved from the parent, right? And hence this DNA replication is called as what? Semi conservative, right? So here you can see it receives one parent strand and one new strand, right? So one parent strand is there and one new strand is there, half half. Okay, it's semi conservative, it's not fully conserved, right? So hence it is called as what? Semi conservative. Now see the next characteristic. One strand of DNA directs the synthesis called template strand or non-coding strand. The other strand is called as coding or non-coding template or sense strand, which has the same sequence as the RNA transcript except T in place of U, right? So one strand will act as what? Template strand or non-coding strand, and another is called as what? So here it is, you can say this is the template strand and or non-coding strand, whereas this another part or newly synthesized part, that will be called as coding or non-template or sense strand, right? So that would be a template, non-coding or anti-sense strand. This is the first. And the second one, as the codon is going to join with it, hence it is called as what? Coding or non-template or sense strand, right? Now, so DNA has many repeated base sequences commonly called as satellite DNA. So satellite DNA is nothing but what? Here, satellite DNA, it consists of tandem repeats of non-coding nucleotide sequences. So we know that all these are sequences. All these are sequences, right? A, then T, then G, then C, right? So some in a some part here you are going to observe the repeated sequences, same repeated sequences. For example, suppose you can take AT. Again here you are going to observe this portion AT, AT, AT. This simple example I am giving, right? So these repeated sequences you are observing, and this portion is called as what? Satellite DNA. This part is called as what? Satellite DNA. So DNA can easily undergo denaturation and renaturation. Denaturation, it destroys, and renaturation means it's again going to form, then it's called as what? Renaturation with any change in pH, temperature and salt concentration. Suppose we are going to change the temperature, pH and salt concentration, then DNA will undergo denaturation and renaturation. So if the DNA with high G and C content is more resistant to thermal melting than A and T rich molecule, means suppose your DNA is rich with G and C content, G and C nucleotide bases, right? So it's more resistant to temperature, right? It's not going undergoing denaturation, right? And suppose your DNA is with high A and T, then there will be a chances of undergoing the denaturation, right? Now, next characteristics. DNA can be synthesized in vitro. In vitro means in a laboratory condition, right? There are two types: in vitro, in vivo. So, in vitro means in laboratory condition, whereas in vivo means in a actual plant body, or in case of animal, it is inside the animal cell, right? So, in vivo is another part. In vitro means in a laboratory condition, in a artificially condition. So DNA can be measured in a unit picogram, right? So picogram is the unit for DNA measurement, right? So 1 picogram is nothing but what? It is a 10 gram. So likewise, we have seen the characteristic and the features of DNA, features of Watson and Crick model we have seen, as well as the characteristics of DNA we have seen in these chapters. So thank you very much.